I can choose peace right now and wake up. And that's enlightenment that people have.
I'd like to welcome to the show Dr. Rod Chelberg. How you doing, Dr. Rod?
Hello, I'm doing very well, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm excited to talk about your journey and the work that you're doing is pretty miraculous as well.
Well, thank you. I love sharing it. People need to hear this in order to have a fuller life, I believe. So I'm very honored that you're allowing me to expand my tent, if you will, and help more people.
That's what I'm here to do, my friend. That is what I'm here to do. So my first question is, I know you had your near-death experience young. Did you have any, like, what was your life like prior to it? Did you have any inclinations of the abilities that were going to come?
No, it's unusual. I had in second grade a strep infection that went into my kidneys and shut them down.
Oh, wow.
So I was in the hospital quite sick and I was treated with penicillin. So before that, I was what you would call a normal kid.
Mm-hmm.
And during a 2-week hospital stay, in the middle of that, I had an allergic reaction to the medicine and I stopped breathing. It went into my lungs and I couldn't breathe. So that was the start. At 2 years old, 7 years old, I didn't know what was going on. The experience was that I knew I was dying. I started to develop tunnel vision and could not see, that everything was getting black. And then finally I lost all vision. I couldn't see anything. And I had this impending feeling of death, of suffocation. I just couldn't breathe. And somewhere in there, I started to float out of my body. And it was a feeling of a movement. And I saw in this vast darkness a brilliant white light. And I started to float towards it. So all thoughts of Rod, all thoughts of hospital, of death, that all left me. And I was drifting towards this light. I felt tremendous peace, love, and comfort. And as I was getting closer and closer, those feelings got stronger. And I knew everything was fine. Almost when I got to the edge of it, I started to see that inside of it was a large sphere of white light, beautiful white light. And I was like, I'm home, I'm going in. But at that moment, the staff, they started rescue medications, and immediately I was yanked back into my body with quite a thrust. And as a little child, I didn't know what that was, and everybody was happy. And I didn't think anything of it. I said, it must have been a dream, but I could breathe again. But I was left with tremendous peace and security. And so whatever that was, it came back with me, which was wonderful. So that's about the extent of what I remember as a 7-year-old kid. And
So that was the extent of the near-death experience on the other side.
correct.
So did you start to process it, or did you really just write it off?
I just wrote it off. Didn't think about it. Didn't tell anybody about it. I mean, I'm a little kid. They'd say, it's just a dream,
Mm-hmm.
right? Anyway, yeah. So what I didn't realize is that I picked up 3 very special gifts that were planted inside of me. And they didn't manifest until I was later in life. These divine gifts, if you will, seeds that were planted,
Mm-hmm.
and they matured and came to fruition, shall we say.
And what were these gifts?
Well, the first gift was I could see people's colors, their auras on their hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw 3 colors, red, blue, and green. And I later learned in life that green is divine life, blue is divine creativity, and red is divine love. And so as a child, in about 1969, the Moody Blues came out with their song Floating Among the Stars. And I love the Moody Blues. And I thought, I wonder if I can float. So there's where I learned my second gift, is that I could leave my body. I could lay down in bed and get very comfortable, and I would float. At first I would just float around my room and thought this is really nice. But we had a farm, small crop farm in Minnesota. So I went out around the farm and I could see Dad, I could see the buildings, but they couldn't see me. I was about 10 feet off the ground. And then I thought, I wonder if I can go farther than this. And so I did. I went to Paris and I was going down a street. I could, as clear as any memory I have, I could see the Eiffel Tower. I could see the red checkered tablecloths, the people. It was just so peaceful and pleasant and blissful. And that was my last journey, Paris. Then the third gift that I developed was the ability to meditate on a very deep level and connect with divine consciousness. I didn't know what it was at the time. Now I do, with experience. But being able to get extremely quiet into the deepest stages of meditation and feel that divine presence within me, connecting to it. And it's just like you're being held by love. So that was in childhood. Those were my experiences. And then none of my friends believed me and they thought I was a little crazy. So I just let it go and chalked it up to, I have a vivid imagination. And
how old were you when this was happening?
Well, let's see, 1969, I don't know, about 14, 13.
Okay, so yeah, but you're still you're still a baby in many ways.
Yes.
So you're still a very young kid. So you still don't have really the knowledge yet to kind of process this. You don't have the foundation yet to process this kind of stuff. And back then there was no information about any of this stuff.
No, you're absolutely right. And who do I talk to? Because nobody, because they'll say, well, you're crazy. And
you didn't have a crazy aunt or grandma who dealt in this kind of stuff like some of us did.
Yeah, no, we had tractors and plows.
There you go. There you go. Okay. So when you finally become an adult, when do these start manifesting in a way that you could start taking them seriously, when you start understanding what you've been given?
Yeah, it really came to fruition in about 2004. I started reading A Course in Miracles. It's an independent self-study guide to spirituality, to realize that the divine is within your heart. It's not in a church, and it's not a formal religion. It's not a cult. It's just a study book. So I started reading, and then I worked on meditation, and that ability to come into a very deep meditation started coming back. So I was in the ER, and I'm starting to have that presence again. No, excuse me. Let me just back up. In residency, I started seeing colors again. I saw colors on people's hearts, red, green, and blue. And then I started to see auras on people. So I could tell, for example, I trained in intensive care unit medicine, and I could tell when somebody was going to die or when they were going to live, because I could see the color of their aura. And it was usually a black, light gray to clear to sometimes white. And I could see this.
Did this kind of freak out your compadres there in residency?
I
when you started calling people's deaths?
No, I didn't tell anybody about any of this.
Okay.
So here's what happened. I went to a play with a friend, and I was kind of like feeling cocky, and I looked over there and I said, "No, see that guy over there? Yeah, well, he's going to die," because I could see his black aura.
Oh, jeez.
And my friend just grabbed my arm and said, "That's my uncle." Whoops. He died of metastatic prostate cancer 6 months later, and he didn't tell anybody. So I decided I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Wow.
And it's just been better that way. So many times I see things and I just like, yeah, they're fine.
Oh, in regards to even to this day?
Yep.
But
Yep.
do you tell people about what their auras are like, or not at all?
Well, yes. When I know, I've had several friends that have had recent major surgeries, they're scared. And I know I see that they're going to be fine.
Okay.
And
so
I
if it's in
tell
the
them
positive,
that.
if it's in the
Yes.
positive, you'll
Yes.
mention
But
it.
if I told you you've got a black aura and it's getting darker, that adds to your fear. And that
stress.
adds and
Right.
stress. And you're thinking, you see, that's not a good thing to do. I want to bring peace to people. I want to bring love. I don't want to engender fear. So
That makes all the sense in the world.
yeah.
Okay, so when do you start, using these gifts in a more professional capacity, if you will?
Yeah, that started certainly in 2007. I became very comfortable with a presence always on my right side, and now I'm in. It really started in the emergency room, where there's a lot of chaos and trauma and insanity going on, and I was reading the Course in Miracles and meditating, and a voice started coming to me. And so the very first one, and I wrote about this in my book. I'd get little inklings or nudges or pushes, do this, do that, but this was a full-blown conversation, which got my attention. A lady came in, and she was professionally dressed, unresponsive, and obviously she's going to die. And that's it. That's all the information I get. She collapsed at work. So the voice said to me, "This lady has Tylenol poisoning. Order a stat lab." Well, that's not a routine lab in the emergency room. That's like a second or third tier lab. But I ordered that first, and it came back critically high. So we gave her the antidote and saved her life. But the voice was as clear as me and you speaking right now, and very forceful. And I had no doubt. My peers are looking at me. Why are you doing a tox screen on this patient? She probably had a heart attack or a seizure. Well, I listened to the voice, and then I started to trust that voice. So I'll just give you another example. And by the way, I can give you lots of examples, but a 15-year-old child comes in, and he was in the playground running, and he fell. He passed out for a second, scun his knees, got up. No big deal, right?
Sure, they'll do it.
So mom hears this after dinner. They decided maybe we should go to the ER and have him checked out. So it's at the end of my shift. I'm looking at going home, and they give me this. My shift ends at 7. At 6:30, this young child comes in. He's got banged up knees. He feels fine, completely no symptoms whatsoever. And Christ said very clearly, "Put your hand and touch him." And as I did this, he said, "This child has metabolic syndrome. It's just a disease that kids get. It's rare." And he said, "This child had VTAC, which is a malignant heart rhythm, because he had a heart attack. That's why he fell." So he said, "Get a cardiac enzyme." Now, a kid comes in with scun knees, and I'm ordering a heart test to see if he had a heart attack. And my nurses are snickering and laughing and like, he's lost it. He needs to go home. Well, it came back extremely elevated. Normal is around 0.01. This was like 3.57. Okay, he's had a heart attack. And he ended up going to Boston. We shipped him to Boston. And he had what's called the Widowmaker's lesion in his left main artery. It's lethal. He had 95% closure. So they were able to stent it and saved his life. That's the power of that voice when it starts to come.
Well, you mentioned something a few seconds ago that we have not discussed. You said Christ. Now I know that that's the voice who's talking to you, but the audience is not aware of this information. So can you talk a little bit about the voice and when you first saw, or have you ever seen, or just purely hearing the voice of Christ?
Well, I've seen Christ in this human plane, and I've seen Christ in kind of, I don't know what to call it, the astral plane, etheric plane.
Sure.
But we can talk about that in a bit. Christ is just, I can call him Jesus. I can call him the Holy Spirit. It's the voice of God. It's the divine. I grew up Catholic. It's what I'm comfortable with. But when this voice talks to you, you can name it Fred. It doesn't matter. He doesn't care.
So in many ways, that voice might come in the form of Christ, because that is the belief system you were raised with, and you're comfortable with that. If you would have been in Asia, it might be Buddha.
Correct.
But the voice is the voice. It comes from a divine place, whatever it is.
It's my voice, but not my knowledge.
So let me ask you, when you first started hearing this, because we're talking about something fairly, outside the box. When you hear voices, what did you think? Did you I'm assuming you said, what's going on? Why am I hearing voices? Did you ever question it, or was there just a sense of peace inside of you and you understood and completely accepted it?
It was a complete acceptance, a complete oneness, a complete knowing. There was never doubt in all the times I've heard it. There's never doubt, because you connect with something that is so profound. The doubt is gone. It's the way it is. It's a knowing. You already know. It's like you're going to take a test, and here's all the answers to the test. You already know that you're going to pass. Okay, it's not so bad. But this voice is so powerful and clear. There's no doubt in your mind, and you don't even care what others think.
Well, speaking of others, as you continue to order insane tests for a child who skinned their knee and things like that, at what point does your superiors, your colleagues, they just start to look at what you're doing and going, the questioning is, what's going on, and why is this man always seems to be right in the most, is it embraced? Do you get scolded for doing that? What is that? Because from my understanding, the medical community, not the most open-minded when it comes to this kind of stuff.
No.
So tell me.
Mostly when I do this, they can't believe I'm doing what I'm doing. And then there's the snickering in the background. But then when I'm right, people are astounded. Like, how did you do that? So they finally just said, he's just really smart. And, he's just really a smart doctor. And I said, in my mind, I never said this to people, but I'm not that smart. But what I'm good at is listening. That's where I'm good at, because I've learned to trust that voice. Right. And that voice then tells me what to do to save someone's life.
So your colleagues put you in the box of he's a smart doctor because that's the only thing that they can wrap their head around.
Correct.
They can't. And did you ever you didn't mention I have a voice telling me what to do? You never say that out loud.
No, I never did.
Smart move, my friend.
Yes.
Smart move.
We're very conservative.
So, but at this point, it doesn't matter. Obviously, you're doing interviews and you're public about what you do, because it doesn't matter at this point, correct?
Yes. I'm no longer under the auspices of the board or my colleagues. And so then,
You're out of the spiritual closet, as they say.
Yes. I have self-diagnosed myself that I have divine schizophrenia. And because schizophrenia is I see things and hear things that you don't, correct?
Right.
That's the definition of it. Human schizophrenia is, you want to hurt somebody, but divine is this, where I see and hear and am guided, and I've learned to be quiet and just let that voice guide me and channel what needs to come out. So I like that diagnosis. So
not a bad diagnosis at all. What I find fascinating about you, doctor, is your energy is so calming. You just have such a great bedside manner, in a sense, because your voice. I talk to very special people all the time. Your energy, I can read just from my own empathic abilities could just, and anyone who could just listen to your voice is very calming, and your energy is very calming, almost in a meditative state. How long have you been like this, and this kind of level of calm?
I would say probably during medical school, when I started residency, would be the time that I noticed it, because of the stress of what you have to do. And most people get upset and angry and burned out. And I found that learning to relax and in essence, take a step back from, quote, the insanity, the appearance of what's going on. And that created a presence. And that's what you're feeling, is that I've learned to step back. And that allows, I call it creating a space for God to step into that place of peace. And then, so God is in front of me and goes before me in every situation. And I've learned to nurture that. And all day long, for me, it's a constant meditation now in my adult life of staying in balance, staying in harmony, staying centered in divine consciousness, not getting unhappy, really sad, up, down, all the duality that we believe in. I've learned to step back and just watch and let the divine take care of it for me.
Do you ever have other conversations that are not medical with the divine?
He tells me when I've lost my wallet where it is.
That's by the way, handy guy to have around.
Yep. Intuition about don't buy this car. In my own life, I had a massive stroke that took out my right side, and I was at the point of death. They gave me TPA, and it's a clot buster. So I'm paralyzed in the ER, and that voice told me, see, I didn't see Christ at that point, but the ER turned all white, and the voice said, you were going to walk out of here. And so the next day I walked out of that hospital, having been completely paralyzed on my right side. So that loving voice, yes, did talk to me on a very deep level, and on several other occasions.
Now, so your abilities with the divine is more diagnostic than it is healing, or am I incorrect with that?
Healing, I can facilitate healing.
Okay.
I can't heal. If you have an illness, I can look and say, here's why you have the illness, but I can't do anything about it. And God can't do anything about it unless you say, I accept this, that I have the power within myself to heal myself, because that's the power of God. The best I can do is hold a light and say, here you are, talk you through it, explain the illness so that you understand it and you're not afraid of it. And you go, oh, that's all it is? So once you understand something and you change your belief in what you're thinking about, so imagine that you've got this horrible disease, and you what do? You go outside of yourself and talk to doctors and specialists. You talk to your friends, and everybody's giving you negative energy. They're reinforcing the belief that you've got this illness, and by the way, you're probably going to die a horrible death. And well, what if we change that belief and from I'm going to be quiet now and say, what does God have to say? And he'll say, Alex, you are healed because we are one. We are one in divine love. Let that love out. And you're going, right.
No,
but it's true.
No. I'm not saying right like you just said. I'm saying you're reinforcing everything I know to be true.
Yes, but most people
go right.
Yeah, he's lost it. But the more accepting you are of the truth that I and my Father are one, the faster you heal. So I've had 3 cancers. I've had colon cancer, kidney cancer, and testicular cancer.
Wow.
So
Did the voice tell you why you are having?
yeah.
What's the challenge? Why are you being challenged with this? Or what are you doing that is causing it?
It's a stress manifestation from working in the emergency room. And they're very tough shifts. 14 hours of just getting hammered. And I did that for 14 years. And it just builds up. The stress just gets pushed down. And what do those organs do? They eliminate. So you're trying to eliminate, but you can't. So it manifests as an illness. So I talked to the doctors, and they say, we have to do this, chemo, radiation tests. They even wanted to take my kidney. And I told them, I kind of like my kidney. Just in all 3 cases, I refuse to believe in the reality of these illnesses. I refuse to give power over me. As Christ said to Pontius Pilate, you have no power except that what I give you. And because you're not of God. God did not create the cancer. The stress of working in the ER created the cancer. And so I then knew I had this feeling that the doctors, I would say, I hear you, but I'm not listening to you. I'm not going to listen to what you say. And I told very few people about what was going on because I did not want their negative energy dumped on me. Mm-hmm. In all 3 cases, the tumors were completely scarred off. And normally tumors they're like weeds, right? Mm-hmm. These were completely scarred off. And the surgeon just did a quick curette cut the cancer out. 100% cure. That was in 2014. 100% cure, no chemo, no radiation, because I was guided not to do that. I said, you're done. And so by learning that you have the power to heal yourself, okay, I don't have 100% conviction, but I've got pretty good conviction. I still did the surgery. I'll still do what's common sense. But I can change by thinking that this has no power over me, and I can bring in divine light and let that heal me. That's what I do. So when people want to talk to me, I don't heal you of disease. I can't do that. But I can help facilitate and help you understand, okay, you have this issue. Here's how we can take this apart, change your belief about it, that you're not a victim, learn to pick up the energy that's in your heart where the divine touches you, mm-hmm. and let that energy flow into your problems. And it doesn't matter if it's financial or relationship or health. It does not matter. It's just a concept, and we can change that.
I mean, everything you're talking about reinforces so many things I've said on the show and heard on the show, is that all the power that you need is within yourself. And once you accept that or understand that at a deep level, a knowing level, yeah, then quote unquote miracles happen in your life.
Exactly. You always have peace.
Now, you also mentioned the astral plane with Jesus and what happens in that. And please, I'd love to hear some stories in your astral travels, which would be fun.
Yeah. I'll share one last story about Christ. In this plane, in the human plane, I always see Christ as a red bead. And it's usually when somebody's dying. So the first really profound experience I had was an 80-year-old woman came in who was in cardiac arrest and coding. And we ran the code for 20 minutes. She was flatlined the whole time, and it said time to quit. And so everybody left the room. And I've always, I like to pray for my patients when they pass away. So I'd hold their hand against my heart. And I decided this time I'm going to ask Christ to come. So Jesus, please come and take this lady home rather than our Father who art in heaven. In that instant, this beautiful lady, her aura became white to me, laying on the gurney, and she sat up, and I could see her face, and she said, "Thank you." And then the next thing I saw was the red aura of Christ. It's just a bead, and the two merged together, and went across my visual field and up into these golden gates that opened up, and the two beautiful hands came out and pulled them in. I call that process now birthing somebody into heaven. And every trauma patient or people who have died, I always see this every time when I ask. And it's just a beautiful experience. So that's the vision of gifts. So I'm backing up a little bit. I'm going back to my gifts, but having the vision of knowing the presence, hearing, and seeing on this plane. Going into the astral plane, that's a slightly different story. I thought, wouldn't it be fun to fly again like I did as a kid? I really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. So I learned that I could still do that. So I would lay down. Usually when I meditate, I sit, but when I travel, I'm laying down in the bed and I relax. So over a span of 2 years, I would take trips, and most of the times I would go around the earth, traveling around, and I could go faster and faster. That was really fun. But then I thought, I wonder if I can go farther. The underlying story here is that my mind is expanding in going to infinite dimensions. So then I went to the moon, then I went to the sun, then I went inside the sun, watched at a molecular level all the molecules colliding. Then I flew through our Milky Way. Then I went beyond the Milky Way into some sort of a purpley plane. But my mind was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I came to the edge of the purple plane, and I saw this is the edge of what I call the separated mind. That being here, we believe we're separate from God. Well, there's an edge to that. So I see the edge of this plane, and I'm looking at a waterfall of clouds. And what I call Christ came through that cloud, grabbed me, and pulled me through. In this instance, Christ was white, and I could see him. And peppered in with this, there's many other instances, but I think you get the idea. Being pulled into that white light, all concepts of rod, time, space, it's all gone, and you become a pure thought of awareness, a pure thought of love. And you see just a beautiful white sphere of infinite dimensions. You become one. That being that I call Christ guided me and eventually brought me and said, "Do you want to meet God?" And I thought, okay, I got to think about that because of my Catholic upbringing. Fear, punishment, damnation. He's pissed off about.
Never meet your heroes. Never meet your heroes.
Well, I was creative. Let's just say that as a kid.
Sure.
And anyway, but when that loving presence, Christ said, "Stay here, just stay," and that loving presence comes, that is incredible. That you're surrounded and filled with love and tremendous peace, joy and happiness, and I can't even describe it. It's ineffable. But I was held in the arms of love for a while. And I came back, I woke up, it was probably a 2-hour meditation. And the whole week was just, everything was beautiful. I could see the divine like in everything. And then later I had more instances of seeing that. But now I feel it. I meditate every day I read something spiritual and I feel it. When I get a longer meditation, I get to see that white light again. Sometimes I just see it where I'm here. It's just like, oh, protecting me and walking with me. It's like your best friend, someone you love dearly, is just right there. You don't have to say anything. It's just a feeling that you have. And that's what I give to the world. That's what I give to the world.
With all of your travels and with everything that you've done and the things you've seen and experienced, have you been shown other information about our reality, other informations about why we're here, why we choose to incarnate again and again, and these more deeper questions that are outside the medical field?
Yeah. I think that the way for me is that if you read in the Bible, I was looking this up the other day in Genesis, it says Adam fell into a deep sleep and he never woke up.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine you are divine, eternal energy, and you and God are one. And in fact, you're one with everything in the room that you're sitting in. You're one with, it's just that your eyes are deceiving you and you're sleeping. During that sleep, you precipitate into a body and you think, I'm having this life. That's why you can heal. You can bring God into that dream and change it. Then eventually you die and move on. As you go through these incarnations, they're learning experiences. And the lesson is to remember that I and my Father are one. So God's constantly tapping, saying, wake up, let's go play. But you're not quite ready to accept that you're worthy of that love. So deep, deep down, there's a guilt that I left God and he's offended at me, which is not true. And right. God said, like, why are you sleeping? And but you're slowly waking up. And I truly believe each lifetime you're ascending in light and energy. You're getting brighter and brighter. So eventually you get to the point of, oh, I don't need any more lifetimes. I can choose peace right now and wake up. And that's enlightenment that people have. Right. And for a human being, it's a temporary experience. The energy of God is like 220 volts, and this body runs on 110 volts. You're going to blow a few fuses. So I don't have a sustained state of enlightenment. I have touches of it. But I said, I'm good. I have learned what I need to learn. And at the point of death, it's to me is so beautiful, because yeah, you're laying your body down. If you lay it down in peace, that is truly beautiful, because you want to be able to let go of all your grievances, your upsets, your past. You lay it down in forgiveness and love. And then the divine is right there, opens the gates and says, welcome home, my child. You're the prodigal son. When are you going to stop eating with the pigs and stand up and walk home? Well, that's what we're doing. At some point, you get the tap and you start doing podcasts. You start reading books. You start talking to people. You're going, I have a thirst to know. I want to know. And I'm saying, you see that light? That's where you want to go. Stop walking these crooked roads and ask the divine, in whatever form you want, to choose to accept him. You got Yogananda behind you. You've got Buddha behind you. God doesn't care. He's just saying, I'll be a tree if you want. I'll be a cane if you want. Sure. But walk with me and I will lead you straight home.
That's beautiful. Doctor, at a certain level, have you seen who you've been in other lifetimes? And did you choose and plan the one that you're in currently?
Yes, I have seen myself in other lifetimes. The ones that come to mind just quickly, I was a soldier in World War II, and I was shot in my left lower abdomen in a trench, and there was gunfire and fighting, and a bomb landed next to me. My friends were trying to get me out, and they ran when they saw the bomb, and the bomb exploded. And then my body was killed, and I was in heaven. And I thought, that's all there is. It was just instantaneous peace. Just everything was like, oh, this is nice. There was a time in the Middle Ages, I was a young child, and the family had too many children in it. So I was sold into servitude for a rich English family, and I was a stable boy. So I took care of the horses, and I felt this intense abandonment. And that fear stayed with me for quite some time.
Many lifetimes that you had to deal with that.
I had the sense of abandonment. There's that. And there was another time that I was a German officer in the SS, and we were hunting Jews. So,
but that's the same. Is that the same World War II soldier, or two different?
World War One.
Oh, World War One, and then World War II. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you said World War II at the beginning. That's why I was confused.
I'm sorry. World War One, trench world warfare. I was shot and killed and went into heaven. Then I had another memory of being a child, being sold.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had another memory of being a German officer. And so this family, we were rounding them up, and I told the mom and the two children, you stay in the closet. The kitchen was yellow. I could see everything clearly. And I shot the cabinet away from these people so the guards could hear the gunfire. And I told them, be very quiet. Help is coming to rescue you. So those are three. I've got a few more, but I don't remember being a great healer or saint or anything like that. But I do remember being a monk many times, a monk in monasteries, things like that, and teaching.
Normally, when you hear about past lives, you're very famous. So apparently you're the only one that's not famous. You weren't like these. You weren't Alexander the Great. You weren't Buddha in a former life. You lived, quiet lives.
I was just Rod.
I was just Rod.
Rod. Yeah.
Do you have a different perspective on life in general, what we're here to do, how you function on a day-to-day basis, knowing the knowledge that you do in regards to this? I mean, you've been able to tap into source energy and have access to consciousness in many ways at a higher level than most human beings walking the planet. I'm assuming that kind of changes your perspective as you walk the planet.
Yeah. My job is to hold the light and hold the peace, kind of like the Statue of Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
And I refuse to engage in what the news shows me about wars and earthquakes. And I always offer love and compassion. Everybody is asking for love and compassion, and they want their energy to be raised up. So if I look at somebody and say, you've done bad acts, I'm going to condemn you, I'm pushing them down away from their source, which is God. So it's like you're a lamp and you've got shades on you. So you've got a mail, you've got a hat, you got whatever. Well, let's take some of those off. What's going to happen to your light? If I change your perception of yourself, that you're, not a nice person, and say, I see Christ in you, I'm taking the light, the lampshades off, you're going to be brighter and you're going to see farther. So you're going, oh, I can change my life. So I have gone from the spectrum of treating the President of the United States all the way to the homeless people of Bangor. Okay, that's quite a range. And in both cases, I said, they're just people. and they need light and love. And it doesn't matter if it's the president or this homeless man, they both need it. We judge them differently.
We're all on the same journey, just they decided to play different parts in this giant movie that we're in.
You chose a lampshade, this one chose this lampshade, and then society judges that. So even with the president, I said he's a man, and underneath that, there's still Christ consciousness that's trapped in this. He needs love and guidance. Putin needs love and guidance.
All of them
People
do.
in this earthquake need love and guidance. These are the scenarios they have chosen to learn. And my job, what I like to think of it, is I'm going to be a bright light so that maybe you don't have to go through 10,000 lifetimes. Maybe you only have to go through a couple before you finally wake up. That makes me extremely happy.
Now, I have to ask you, you worked with one of the presidents?
Yes.
Is that a story you can share?
Probably not. No, it was yeah, I can share it. It was President Bush doing a speech for
first or
second.
Second, okay.
Yep. And he was doing a campaign speech at Bangor Airport.
Mm-hmm.
So I just got to be extremely close, and I kept my mouth shut. There's a lot of guys with guns. I was like, okay, not a good time to insult anybody. But yeah, it was nice to be able to meet him, So, but what struck me is he still believes he's a person. He needs friends, real friends that don't want anything from him. So I just offered him love and guidance. Then the next day I'm in the ER and I've got a homeless man, and he's crying because he says, I can't help it. I drink. I can't. And I could still see the Christ in him as much as I could see the Christ in the president. And so it doesn't matter what the appearance is. That's a distraction. That's all it is. So if you learn to be quiet and see with your spiritual vision, and you go, oh, I see myself in you and in everything around me, and it's beautiful. I'm going to make it brighter and brighter and let that divine love light up the earth. Then I'm going to let it light up the sonship. And that goes back and heals all the way back in time. It goes all the way forward in time. It's an incredible power that we have to sit there and just say, I'm going to light up the sonship.
Doc, I can keep talking to you for a little while, but I think I'm gonna just end it with asking you a few questions that I ask all of my guests.
Yeah.
What is your definition of living a good life?
Human definition or spiritual?
Both. Both.
To me, living a good life is being of service and helping people. It always brought me such joy as a physician to take care of little scratches all the way to I saved your life. And I like helping my friends. I like helping strangers because I get to feel this divine love flow through me first. And then I can give. Then there's a blessing coming back. It's a circle of love, and then gratitude. It fills you up. It just fills me up. So that's a good life. And the spiritual is the same, is that I have released divine love into this life. And I've touched one person that now they've gone from a 50-watt bulb to a 75-watt. They go, I can see farther. Thank you. That's it. So
how do you define God?
I am oneness.
And the ultimate purpose of life?
To wake up. This human life, to wake up. Because once you've had that experience, you will never be the same. You will say, this is so profoundly beautiful. All I want to do is give it to everybody. I want to give you the intense love that I'm feeling right now to you and to everybody around me. Because when you have that love, you won't want anything else except to give that and keep giving it.
And where can people find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
I do have a website. It's Dr. Rod Chelberg at .com. And then, so there's mostly I listen, I help, I channel spiritual energy. I don't cure people of their illnesses. That's their job. That's their journey. But I help facilitate. And then I have written a book, When God Calls, Say Yes. It's about my experiences and the unreality of death, what it's like in the astral plane, what it's like now in healing. So, and that's on Amazon, just When God Calls, Say Yes, or just Rod Chelberg. I do believe I'm the only Rod Chelberg in the United States, so that's kind of cool. But I'm pretty easy to find.
And do you have any final words for our audience?
I wish you all a divine blessing of love, and I wish you light and peace, that you may get to feel what I feel and wake up. I wish you enlightenment and peace.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rod. I appreciate you sharing your story and the work that you're doing for humanity and all of us. So I appreciate you, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much. This is wonderful. Really, truly.